Hey, what's up, guys? This is Two Awesome Men, and we just saw the very highly anticipated movie Glass.
And it's written and directed by M Night Shyamalan, and it's a sequel to Unbreakable and Split, which just came out 2 years ago.
Yeah, and this movie stars Bruce Willis, Samuel Jackson, James McAvoy, Sarah Paulson, and Anya Taylor-Joy. This movie, what do I want to say about this? I will say that this movie is fine. Mm-hmm. And the word, just using that word fine kind of hurts me a lot, considering how great the first two were. You know, Unbreakable to me is like truly perfect, you know. I mean, overall, I would say maybe like there are few weird things about it, how just like his superpowers, he doesn't notice them ever, you know.
Yeah, he has a lot of memory problems.
Yeah.
About his past.
Yeah. And then Split was really good too. I do think Unbreakable is better than Split. But they're both these two really well-rounded, these two really grounded films. That's what I really liked about those movies, especially whenever it comes to Unbreakable. It's kind of like it's kind of a superhero movie, but at its core, it's more of just like an actual film, like a drama, you know, about a guy learning about superpowers. It's not really so much of a superhero film, and that's one of my favorite things about it. They don't really delve that much into that aspect of it.
Yeah, this movie. I didn't find as much enjoyment watching this movie as I did the first two with Unbreakable and Split. I mean, I'm not going to say the first two movies were like fun movies, but they were enjoyable to watch. There was a lot of things I loved about the dialogue and the interaction between the characters and all that were pretty great. This one didn't really have that.
Yeah, and I will say this. I don't really want to know how much I should go into this because there are a lot of my issues are spoilery, you know. And so considering how much people are looking forward to this movie, I don't want to go too much in it, but I will say this. This movie, it's a weird comparison, but it kind of reminded me of a little bit of Incredibles 2, where Incredibles 2 kind of picked up the same kind of idea and the same kind of storyline that the first one did.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not the same storyline, I don't want to say that, but they kind of go through the exact same things as Unbreakable.
Yeah,
you know?
I can see what you're saying.
Yeah, and
a lot with like the questioning on if their powers are real. They retreaded over that pretty heavily in this movie too.
Yeah, and they kind of went through trying to make us question whether or not anything was real, and it's kind of irritating to see that because I feel like that's stuff that could have been wiped off completely, and to add more of a better film, to add more substance to this film.
Especially since it's been like 19 years since Unbreakable, and it's been 19 years in this universe, so you think that by this time they would accept that these superpowers are real.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be like questioning if they're still real after 19 years.
Yeah. Especially since one very big rule in film is you can't redo an arc. And they had, and Bruce Willis has a really good arc in Unbreakable, and you can't just redo that all of a sudden. And I found that really irritating and stupid choice that the film made.
Yeah, which speaking of Bruce Willis's character, David Dunn, he's barely in this movie. Like he probably has the least amount of screen time from all the main characters, which is surprising because he's like the main character.
Yeah.
He's the main superhero, so it's strange to have like you said, they just did pretty much the same arc with his character, and they barely did anything with his character at all, other than that arc that they redid.
Yeah, and like they kind of when it came to this movie, it's almost like this movie I mean, you should watch Unbreakable always, but I feel like a sequel shouldn't just rely on its predecessors, on the movies that came before it, because in this film, if you didn't watch Unbreakable, you would be watching this movie, and Bruce Willis wouldn't be really much of anything at all because he didn't really have much of a character in this film. In fact, there's a lot of times when you barely even realize that he's in it.
Now, James McAvoy, I'm going to say that his acting was just so amazing in this movie. In Split, he was amazing, and this movie is like there's nothing different about his acting because it was just spot on with the way he's able to switch back and forth between all these different personalities. Yeah. But I do want to say that they kind of overused the whole switching between personalities in this movie. It kind of seemed like it got to the point to where they just want to show off his acting because of how many times they used it, and it just got kind of distracting.
It was crazy because there were several scenes when he switched through like 10 personalities in the same scene, and there was several scenes like that.
Yeah, no,
you
exactly.
know, and it was just, and that's another thing. It's like shorten those scenes down and give us more stuff. Give us more Bruce Willis. You know, shorten those scenes down and give us more Bruce Willis, something like that. You know, and I felt like this movie. I don't want to trash this movie too much because although it had huge problems, it did actually have a lot of things that I did love about it. There is a few things I do love about this movie.
Right.
Obviously, James McAvoy does really good in this movie. But there's really the beginning I actually like quite a bit. I'll say the beginning I love the scenes that were in there. But whenever it comes to the beginning, I also feel like they didn't really know how to mix the scenes well at all.
Yeah, and then the one thing I did like a lot was, even though Glass wasn't in this movie that much, considering the movie's called Glass, I did like pretty much his whole plan. Yeah. Kind of when it's all revealed. Yeah. I did really like that.
Yeah, and the action sequences at times were good. One of my biggest issues with this movie, when it comes to action sequences, is they kept using like GoPro shots.
Oh yeah.
You know, where like the camera is like hanging over their head almost.
Yeah.
And my biggest problem with that is they use it during the freaking action scenes. That's not what you want to see during an action scene, is a close up of somebody's face. You know, and I felt like whenever it came to that, the cinematography was really bad. The cinematography was really good throughout the entire movie, I felt like. Most of the movie, I love the cinematography. But whenever it just came to the fight scenes, I felt like the fight scenes could have been done a little better. I did like a lot when it came to some parts with the fight scenes, but a lot of times they did just film it very badly. Also, I do want to say that this movie, even though I like how things kind of wrapped up at the end, I didn't like the entire ending of this movie. It felt extremely just dropped, you know? Yeah. Like it felt like a movie that was going somewhere, that was just going and going and going, and then just fell flat. And that really killed this movie for me. I mean, this movie does have a few issues before that, but I could actually watch this movie and accept some of the flaws in the beginning, but just the last act of this movie just kind of fell flat completely.
I felt like at the end they kind of threw a whole bunch of stuff into the story, and some of it sticked. I will say some of it actually sticked, but a lot of it didn't really fit into it. Yeah, work out very well.
Yeah, and there is one really big really big reveal in this movie at the end that they revealed it really weird. There's two really big reveals that I found really cool, you know. But whenever there's one that has to do with kind of like I don't even want to really say it that much at all. But there is one really big reveal towards the end, really close to the end, that I actually did not like. And I liked it, but I just did not like the way they revealed it. They revealed it very strangely, and I don't really know how to get much into it without spoilers.
I do want to say that, like in the second act, they spent way too much time in the psychiatric hospital that's shown in the trailer, where the three main characters are in. They kind of spent way too much time there, and kind of made the movie kind of drag a little bit in the middle section, or really most of the movie. That is
another big thing that I don't really want to knock too much off this because it's something they had to do. The son from Unbreakable, the guy who plays Bruce Willis' son, is in this movie as an adult. We just looked up his name. I can't remember what it was. It's something Clark or something like that. I can't remember what his name is. But I'll say this. I'll say there was times when his acting was okay, and there was a lot of times where his acting was terrible. And like I said, I don't want to knock off a whole bunch for that because, I mean, it's something that they almost had to do, was bring back that son, you know? Right. And it was kind of really cool seeing him in the movie. At the same time, it did kind of bring some scenes a little down whenever it came to his acting, you know?
Yeah, especially towards the end when there's like a big reveal.
Yeah, and so whenever he's acting, whenever he's trying to act in these dramatic scenes, whenever he's trying to act mad or something like that, I really couldn't feel it at all. And I felt like his acting was pretty bad most of the time. And like I said, there are some times where his acting is fine, but whenever it comes to those bigger scenes, it's whenever his acting falls flat along with the scenes that he's in. Another issue I have with this film is that in Unbreakable, they bring up comics a few times, but they bring it up kind of organically. It feels a lot more natural how they bring up comic books, you know? In this film, they bring it up a lot. They bring up comic books a lot, how they connect to the story and stuff like that. And one of my biggest things about that is it almost kind of treats the fans like, the viewers like idiots, you know? It doesn't really respect its viewers that much, its audience, because it keeps telling you how the movie connects to comic books over and over again. And I'm not gonna lie, and like in Unbreakable, they did that a few times, but it felt fine in that, how they did in that. And the way they did in that, it felt like it was naturally part of the conversation.
Right.
In this film, every time they brought up comics, it was just bam, bam, like it felt like it was forced in there really bad. And like it just didn't feel that natural. And that is another problem with this film, is that a lot of it didn't feel natural, you know? None of it was actually grounded at all. You know, it was kind of, it didn't feel like real or anything like that. And like I usually try to say, I don't mean like real because they're like superheroes. I mean like real within the world that they've created. It just did not feel natural. Well, guys, this movie, I don't really want to say it was really great or anything like that. But then again, I don't want to trash it. I don't want to say it was trash. I think if you watch this movie, go in there just kind of expecting not a whole bunch. And unfortunately, that's the unfortunate part about it, is I will have to say, go in there not expecting a whole bunch, and you will enjoy it. I did enjoy myself quite a bit of times. But overall, I will say I was highly let down by this film.
Yeah, I will say this is a pretty perfect example of just like an okay movie. It wasn't like a bad movie. It wasn't like a really good movie either. Like Marquez said, if you lower your expectations for this movie, I think you'll really enjoy it. If you have your expectations really high, if you expect it to be as good as Unbreakable and Split, I think you're going to be disappointed. But it's a decent movie.
We are going to say that Glass is 60% awesome. Well, guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, comment and let us know what you thought about Glass. And go ahead and rank all three of these movies, Unbreakable, Split, and Glass, for us down below.
And don't forget to follow us on social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at 2 Awesome Men.
And as always, thank you so much for watching, and you will see us later.